Hello! 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 Hi, everybody. Hi, this is Sycra, and today I'm going to be testing out Manga Studio 5EX, and I'm joined with Bobmeatbag here.
Hey, meatbags. This is Bobmeatbag.
And we're going to be reading your comments. And I'm going to be trying out this new program, and this is my very first time using it. And so I'll probably fail, but I don't know why. Seems people enjoy seeing that. So, hello everybody. Steiner Arts says, I have the EX 4.0 version on my PC, so let's see how better this new version is. Alright, let's do that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make this look like Photoshop CS6 with a dark thing. Now, how do I do that? How do I do that? Again, you can write down the comments in the comments section if you do know. Hello, Romeo Cat from Holland. Hello, where are you from? Everyone. Okay, how about you keep track of the chat?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll be keeping track of everybody.
Okay, you can say where everyone's from as well.
Okay.
While I try and find how to change the thing. Preferences, here we go. File preferences. Cursor, no. Performance, no. You can use 70% of my memory. That's right.
Meatbags! Meatbags!
What?
Meatbags! Bags, yes.
Okay, but where's everyone from, Jeff?
I wasn't paying attention. I was looking for meatbags.
No, but oh, here we go. Okay, transparent color. Wait, what? What does this do? Wait, no. My hopes were sky high. What happens?
Well, what's going on?
I don't know. Preferences. Interface, right? Okay, theme of color combination. Dark color. Adjust density. What does that mean? Oh, okay, so less density means more dark. More density means more bright. And I want it... I want it the same as Photoshop, so that I get to feel like I'm in the same thing. Okay, that's good. Great! Now it looks all dark. It got a tan. Where's everyone from, Jeff? You're not keeping track of anything.
Okay.
Let me do it.
Art FX9, Latvia. Mose are... crap, I'm so bad at saying names. Mose Araya, Sweden at midnight here. Chris Lorax Design, Montreal, Canada. Oh god, 96, Portugal, 1 hour to midnight. Oh man, some of you guys are up late.
Thank you for spending time with me, even though it's so late. I really appreciate it. Okay. Now, seems like my tablet settings are working a little bit, but anyway. What else? Washington, Bulgaria. I'm from You're from Bulgaria? Sycra, will you watch Korra season 2? No, I don't. I haven't seen. Actually, I haven't seen an episode of any of that. Avatar, Airbender, or Korra. I haven't seen any of it. I only saw an art test, and the animation was amazing. But, yeah. What time? I only have time for Breaking Bad. Cool. Israel, Portugal, Norway, Michigan.
Jasmine Shadow, west of Germany.
Turkey. Zwede, Holland, Swede. Bags of meat. Bags of meat. Wonderful, everybody. Wales. Wales. Happy Ploo is from Bob's bedroom. Hi, Happy Ploo.
Wait, who's in my bedroom?
Happy Ploo.
Happy Blue. Where are you, Happy Blue?
Okay, so let's see. This is a darker pencil. What's a lighter pencil? Okay, it's just lighter. Now, density. Okay, so density controls how that is. Transparent. And what's hardness? Ooh, what does this mean? More hard? Less hard? Okay, so I've been told Manga Studios like better than everything. I'm like it's as good as Psy as a brush engine. It's as good as Photoshop as other stuff. And I did see some tutorials, so I want to explore the program a bit. But I'm also open to anyone who has suggestions of what I should. Hey, Tyler's Art Check. Of what I should be doing. So what is this? This is some 3D thing. Move layer. Magic wand. Pen, pencil, brush. What is the difference between a brush? I see. Airbrush. Decoration. What is decoration? Stars. Amazing. So Jeff, Bobmeatbag.
Yes.
How's it going?
Looking at the chat.
You can talk over me. Don't worry. You don't
Yeah.
have to be polite. I'll just stop talking when you talk.
It's okay. But yeah, the chat's updating irregularly. It's hard to keep track.
Okay, anyone in the chat? I saw there was this perspective thing. Does anyone know how to get perspective thing started? Perspectives. How do you do perspective?
Mongrath. Me belongs to Portuguese barbarian horde. We have a warrior in our midst.
I didn't know Portuguese had barbarians.
Me neither. I am rather ignorant in the ways of the world.
Especially, I wish I knew something in Portuguese so I could make jokes, but I don't. I don't. I know people who speak Portuguese, but I don't know any Portuguese.
Oh.
Everyone loves you, Jeff.
Huh? Who?
I don't know. Var Or says, "We love you, cheesy." Oh, says meatbag for the win.
Yeah, meatbags. Meatbags.
See Drippins, draw them. For people who don't know Bob Meatbag and why everyone in the chat loves him, it's because of his great videos. This is his channel, youtube.com/BobMeatbag, and there he uploads a variety of videos, like the popular series Sketches from the Meatbag, and also Sketches for the Meatbags. In Sketches for the Meatbags, he takes your suggestions from the chat or from the comments and then turns them into beautiful images. He also has children's videos, like this nice little nursery rhyme for Humpty Dumpty. If you're not subscribed to him, or you don't watch his stuff, it's worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Nobody uses Manga Studio. How do you pronounce Weibo? Is it Weibo or Weeboo or Weeabo or Weeaboo?
I don't know.
I know, I'm asking the chat.
You hurt my feelings.
There's nothing to hurt. You're cold.
A cold bag of meat.
Snap to ruler. Lots of Portuguese people here. Thuringia, Germany. Layer, ruler, create perspective. Thank you, Yaroslav Arsentiev. Layer, ruler, create perspective ruler. Nice. 3 point. Wow. Okay. Okay. All right. That's too much. Oh boy.
Spady and sub to Meatbag. Yes. Congratulations. You're a Meatbag now. One of us.
This
One
way
of us.
Sycra isn't Meatbag. No. Weeaboo. 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 Okay, everyone's saying weeaboo.
Alex and Dr. Crosh. Hodor. Yes.
Who said Hodor?
Hodor. Hodor.
Hodor.
Hodor.
Okay. Select layer. Alright, so there must be a way. This is move layer, but what if I just want to move the thing? Let's try that. Oh! Oh! Okay. So that does that. What does this do?
Angel.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
Kovar Rubius. Get on with it.
I'm sorry! I'm sorry! I'm trying my best. I did my best. I did my best.
I did my best.
Okay, well, let's just... I really wanted to play around with this perspective tool. Maybe I really should make... Like, I should stop being stupid. Maybe Manga Studio's too complicated and I better use some, like, tutorials and figure stuff out. And then I should make a video explaining how to do things instead of just being completely incompetent. And pen, G pen.
Cherry
Whoa! Whoa.
Wow, what's going on?
I don't know, my G pen is drawing in perspective.
Oh wow.
So that's cool anyway.
Yeah.
So if I don't want it to draw in perspective, what if I want this one to draw in perspective? What if I do this? Will this draw in perspective? Oh, it will. Sweet.
Another one just joined the Meatbag Collective. Cherry Chan 209.
Okay, this is Manga Studio time now.
I just want to say one more thing.
Okay.
If you're gonna watch any of my videos, watch Humpty Dumpty first. I really recommend it.
No, don't. No, because they might get traumatized.
Oh, what? That's not that bad. I mean, it's a nursery rhyme.
People are sensitive.
But they're meatbags.
Sycra, did you buy this program just offhand? Yes. So how about forget perspective? Forget you, man. Let's delete those layers. And let me just draw. How about that? And then we can just talk about other stuff, because we have other stuff to talk about. We don't have to talk about Manga Studio. It's not like it's that good anyway. I don't know. No, I don't. It's great. I'm sure.
Oh, it looks really cool because, like, yeah, it's crazy perspective. That's really awesome. It makes things so much easier.
It's amazing. Okay, go to Manga Chaser's channel. They have a lot of Manga Studio tutorials. All right. I think I will. Later, Manga Chasers. All right.
Later, alligator.
Thank you, Cherry Chan 209. So are there any questions? Okay, so what I wanted to talk about, I'm not sure if we could. Well, of course we can. But the thing about shapes, do you wanna? Should we? Should we talk about shapes?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so something I've been learning recently is that, you know how normally, even in my tutorials, I start out with guidelines and stuff, and let's say I'm doing an anime face, and okay, I start with guidelines, and that's all well and good. What I've learned is, or what I'm finding, is that when I do things this way, everything naturally gets stiff, even if I don't want it to. Even if I, use all my magic of changing the angle direction of the shoulders or the hips or things. And I don't know if this is applicable to a more advanced stage. Like, I don't know if this would have worked if I was starting out or just now. Okay, so if you press delete, it clears the layer. Amazing, excellent. But what I'm finding right now, at this stage of the game, is when I don't start out with a strict guideline thing, like the crosshairs, or I don't have like a body that is very, very straight up and down like this. What is that? What's going on?
Hmm.
I don't know. I just heard like a ping sound. Anyway.
Oh.
Someone said, "Oh my God, what the Humpty Dumpty?" When I just use more, okay. When I use organic shapes, like weird shapes, then I find it's easier for me to create cool designs. And so let's say for the body, like something like this. And I don't know if this is just my style now, but it seems a lot easier to create things than when I use guidelines. I don't know if that makes any sense. So what I'm saying is, instead of drawing like, very boxy and figuring out the proportions and how tall things should be and even using more straight lines, what I'm doing these days is using more shapes and then making things from those shapes.
Yeah. It's this thing that if you start off really stiff, then that's basically your foundation. You start off stiff, and then if you try to make it more flexible, if there's more energy and more life to it, it's going to be difficult. But if you start off like with just a free-flowing shape and there's already a lot of energy to it, you can rein it in and make it more structural. But it's harder to just start off stiff and try to push it towards more more lifelike, have more energy. It's more difficult that way. But with this, it just makes it so that you have more room to work with.
Yeah. All right. So apparently, I like working with my brush density pretty low. Can you draw a Pokeball? I sure can. I don't remember exactly what. It starts with a ball, and then let me get some reference. Pokeball. Okay. I got it. So it starts with a ball, and then it's got some circle in the middle, and then another circle in the middle, and then it's got a line and a line, and they're red. And then I think it's got a bunch of hair around it.
Well, it makes it so that it attaches to the Pokemon easier. The Pokeball has adapted to that.
Yeah. I think there's like little hairs on it. Maybe I'll increase my density a bit. Yeah. I think that's what a Pokeball looks like, right?
Definitely.
K-Con is from Austria. Excellent. Hi, Shiny Spartan. First. Okay. Sycra, when you use a huge brush size, say 1/3 of a huge image, do you get any lag? Of course. If not, what are your CPU specs? No, of course I would get lag. That is due. Should we be doing organic guides to keep proportion? That's why I was not sure if this is a technique that is advanced or not. Because when I'm talking about, well, you can use organic shapes, it sort of requires that you have proportion in your mind already. I don't know why I keep drawing girls. Let me draw something else. So that's why I think maybe it is important to start out with the guidelines where things aren't so much free and flowing, but that at a certain point, when you understand your guides, when you can easily get your proportions down and everything, there's a point where it's the law of diminishing returns, and you're not getting much out of the guide, or not as much as you could out of the guidelines. But I don't know. Again, I'm not sure if this is style, if this is experience.
Yeah. And this type of process is it's one way of doing it. It's not set in stone. It's just up to you to choose if you would like to use it, or if it doesn't work for you, you don't have to use it this way.
Yeah. What I find is that, it never ends. I'm always learning new things. I'm always trying different things. And so it's not going to be a case of, well, hey, I learned my guidelines and I learned my proportions and I'm done. And anyone who thinks, I'm learning to draw and now I know how to draw, it's like, no, it never ends. You can always learn more, always do more. So I guess what I want to get across is there's no point where you're like, I'm a master now, it's amazing, I can do everything, I'm great. Maybe there are people like that, but I don't think I'm ever going to be someone like that. So.
You never know. You always got a dream.
Anyway.
Let's see. Any more questions, or anybody? Super effective. Just for fun, try to create a rough sketch of an original Pokemon in less than 1 minute and then name it.
Okay. An original Pokemon. And name it in less than 1 minute. Alright. Let's do that. Let's do that! An original Pokemon. This is going to be super hard. So I can't actually try anything good because, less than a minute. When are we start? Let's just time it.
Alright, I'll get my timer. Gonna have to use my cell phone for this.
Okay.
Alright. 3, 2, 1. Begin.
Alright. I don't watch Pokemon, so I don't know if this, looks exactly like a Pokemon, but I assume they're sort of like animals. So I'm gonna do an animal, and let's see, it's gonna have big front teeth, and let's see. How am I doing for time?
30 seconds.
Oh.
Hurry! Hurry!
I'm trying. I'm doing my best.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh! Time's up!
Thanks, Mickey. Alright, so this Pokemon is called, what should he be called?
I don't know.
He'll be called Meaplon.
Meaplon.
For meat bags, and Plon is for nothing, but his voice is like this. Meaplon, Meaplon! And then he evolves into Meatbag. Meaplag. Meaplag. And then he's like, Meaplag. 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 And he's
Ali C, do you have tips on painting within shadows? I find my colors start getting muddy or too much like the background, foreground colors, or too dark and saturated. Thanks.
Okay, sorry, I just missed that.
Is your mind going somewhere else?
Something about values? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, Ali C, do you have tips on painting within shadows? I find my colors start getting muddy or too much like the background/foreground colors, or too dark and saturated. Thanks.
Painting within shadows. Well, the most important thing when you paint inside a shadow, and let's see if I can do this. Let me just create some kind of box. That's terrible. Let's start again. Terrible box. And where's your painting tool? Paint, 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 brush. There we go. So, new layer. What I do like about this so far, though, is that it's pretty easy from Photoshop to get used to this. So let's make it this. This is the color of the box in the light side, and the shadow is going to be halfway to black. So let's say this is the box. And you're talking about painting in the shadow. So you're talking about painting in... I don't know if you mean painting in the shadow or you mean painting the shadow. Like, because what... Okay, so let me field both. So if you mean what color do you pick for this? The important thing is the value, and what I did is I took the starting color, which was this, and then I went halfway between that and black. So, you know, if you look down here, I take the starting color, and then I go halfway between that and black, and then I tend to go a bit more saturated, and that tends to be the color that I use. And it's picking up other stuff because it's this oil painting brush. And let's just give it a background so things are easier to see. And this is why it's hard to start on a white background, because things get out of context really quick. But as soon as I add that, okay, so there's that. But now let's say I wanted to, let's say you're talking about painting on this shadow, so like adding more colors. What I tend to do is I just keep the values the same, but you can go anywhere with the colors. You know, I could add a bit more of that. I could add a bit more cools in here. As long as the value remains consistent, you can sort of go as colorful as you want. Like maybe that's a bit too much. You know, keep it within reason, but you can do a lot. But it's the value that's important. Always the value. Keep the value the same.
Yes.
Hi, Mom, I'm on the interwebs. Okay. Any other questions?
All right. Geez, it's hard to keep track because it's like sometimes the chat just there's nothing new and then it just boom update. Luckily, what's going on? Pokemon draw an organic spaceship from silhouette.
Organic spaceship from silhouette. I wonder if Manga Studio can make brushes. I'm pretty sure it can, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Edit.
Shadower 202. Does Manga Studio have pre-made comic layouts?
I think it does, but what I decided is that maybe for this one, I just won't be able to do much to show you because I don't know the program and it's pretty big. Kind of like I wouldn't be able to show you a Photoshop if it was my first time using Photoshop.
Right.
It would just be me screaming, ah! Ah! Ah!
Oh!
And then crying. How can I add a green light effect to a draw? A draw. Drawing. And just add green. Green. What was I gonna do? Oh, create a ship.
Yeah,
Organic ship.
Organic silhouette ship.
Yeah, so I was looking for a brush that is more fat on one end. Maybe I could find that. Pencil. Pastel. Maybe a pastel would do. No, because everything's round. I want a not round brush. Ooh, okay. Whatever. We'll just do it. I want to make a ship, so I don't know. I'm just scribbling, and I'm trying to look at the shape that it's forming. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to define anything. I'm just making some kind of shape, and I'm trying to keep the balance. So I don't like that, and the reason why I don't like that is because it's too even on this side and this side. So I'm going to try again, and this time I'm going to create more of a, maybe it's heavier on one part and then lighter on another. So right now that doesn't look like much, and well, yeah, I'm not feeling the ship design right now, but and let's see, erase. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that's a pretty cool shape. Then I would create a new layer, and I would clip that down. So I guess this is clipped down. Is that? Yep. And then I will block out where the windshield is, and so this is all the cockpit area. And the next thing I do is I get like a dark, and I define the under. Oh, let me switch brushes. Let's do oil paint. Define the underneath area, like the parts that aren't catching light. So now I have my light and shadow. It helps me define what's where, and yeah, so stuff like that. I mean, again, I'm not a ship designer person. I'm probably doing it all wrong, probably missing things, but that's just how I go about doing that stuff. Start focusing on the shape. The shape is the most important thing, I think. I could be wrong, but with my no experience, I think shapes are really, really important.
Oh yeah.
Any more questions?
FX9. It's 1:26 a.m. I am up for you, you amazing bastards.
Oh, thank you.
Oh.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to find the perfect time to stream, a time where everyone's awake, where we're awake, where you're awake. Everyone's in different parts of the world. So, you know, I really do appreciate though the people who are staying up late. Yeah.
I really gotta thank you for tuning in. It's because of you that we do this.
Sycra, are you using a Wacom 22? Yeah, I'm using the 22 HD. Sycra, will you talk about drawing cool, energetic, maybe twisted poses? Find it hard to draw cool stuff like this. Haven't I? I think I have. I have a video called How to Draw Interesting Poses. I think those are pretty twisted.
Yep. Who? Any more questions, guys?
There's a lot of questions. We're missing a lot.
Oh, it's so hard to keep track.
Can you show or explain the special features Manga Studio is well known for? Stuff other programs don't have. The reason I actually got Manga Studio is because for freelance work, I'm working comics, and then they have word balloons and things, and I've only seen and heard good things about Manga Studio. I haven't used it, so it would be very difficult for me to walk you through. And I did two videos. I did a GIMP one where I just sort of dive into the program, and a Paint Tool Sci one where I did. And the Paint Tool Sci one was pretty awful, but I was able to do more with the program. But with Manga Studio, because it's so complex and it's actually like a real robust program, I don't think I can show you all the special things. Unfortunately, I'm very sorry. So I've just been, drawing and sketching random things and answering questions because, yeah. I mean, it so far so good, right? The program seems nice, but I can't really go. I mean, what I'm gonna have to do myself is really figure out how to use things. I know there's like a story mode for creating comics, and there's balloons and everything. I got to figure out how to do all that stuff. How can I make a live tutorial like this? I will appreciate. Thanks. if you have a YouTube account, you go to like upload and then broadcast, and then you can broadcast live. Live. Okay. Um. Oh, jeez. What are the questions? Are we? Do we?
Let's see.
There's so many, Jeff.
I know it's. Yes, it is over 9,000. No, it's not. No.
I'll try a quick inking thing.
What's the difference between soft and hard shadow? Sometimes I blur the shadows in the midtone or the highlights too much, and it ends up being a plain gradient.
Soft and hard shadows in the plane gradient. I don't. Well, soft shadows doesn't have to do with gradients. It has to do with, like, okay, so let's say, again, I have a box. Wait, maybe it does. No, let's do a circle because a circle is easier. But anyway, if I did have like a cast shadow and it was hard, let's see, that's that light's coming from there. It's there, maybe like that. It's there, maybe that. So let's say I had that. It's really the edge. So this can be one value, but the softness, I mean, it would get lighter, but the softness is more about how you treat this edge of a cast shadow anyway. Is this hard? And then for a hard shadow as well, it's not the value itself. It's not like you would have a smooth gradient from here to here. So that's not going to happen. You're just going to have in this area between the light and the shadow, it's going to get more fuzzy. Or maybe between, let's say you had the background and it was a value and the values are close, maybe these can blend into each other and that's like more soft, but it's in the transition, it's not the whole way through. So you wouldn't have, even in a soft shadow, you should know what's the shadow and what's the light. There should be a difference between the midtone and the shadow. Hope that makes sense, or that answers the question. Geektard, are you totally self-taught? Not totally. I have been taught by, I've taken schoolism courses, and I studied with a private teacher for a while, so no, I'm not totally self-taught. Mostly, but not totally. Can you draw something really disproportioned and make it look good? Yeah, absolutely. It's actually easier to draw something disproportioned and make it look good, because the thing is that, and let me just increase my brush size and maybe the density, so maybe not that size that much, a bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so let's say I have a guy, right, and this is his head. And then I'm going to really make the body disproportioned. I mean, it's sort of in proportion. Let's do another guy. But right now the head is not at all in proportion to the body, and that looks fine. Let's do another one where maybe this guy's got body and it's really small. Maybe they've got really long arms, really long legs, but a small body. Okay, again, this is not looking too bad. It actually looks pretty cool. It's like, okay, that works.
Yeah.
So,
well, when you're doing stuff like this, it's like you're entering, when you're doing something that's really disproportionate, you're not doing reality, you're doing a style, you're entering an abstract world. And then when you're in an abstract world, the rules aren't completely rigid, because when you try to do something that's very realistic, well, you are in reality. You know what realism is. You see it every day. So it's very easy to pick out the flaws when something is wrong and is trying to be realistic. But when you enter an abstract world, the rules are very different. And as long as you know how to make the shapes and the proportions appealing, then you can do almost anything. You know, you can break a lot of rules when you enter an abstract world.
yeah, and like anime is it's all wrong and broken and disproportionate, but it works.
Yeah. If you try to break down like a skull of an anime character, the eye sockets would be huge. It wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, it works because it's in an abstract world.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that when you make one thing a certain proportion, as long as you carry that out throughout. So, for instance, let's say I had, um, let's make a figure, and they are very skinny. They have very skinny legs. The whole thing is very. I'll redo it. Maybe I'll make like a girl or something. And it's like, okay, so this, you sometimes see this. What's that show? There's like a show, Eon Flux or something, and they had very stretched out characters. And that's fine, but you have to make everything stretched out in proportion. So, I mean, you can break proportion, but there's a different kind of proportion. There's a proportion as in this is the correct proportion, and then there's proportion as in something in relation to something else. So you still, you can go very stretched, but you have to stretch everything out accordingly, or it will look messed up.
Yeah. You can't have like if the upper body is realistic, but then the lower part, the legs and stuff like that, if that's like incredibly long or tiny, it doesn't make sense. You have to it's almost like once when you enter the abstract world, you can't just have the other half be in a realistic world. It's almost like it's all or nothing.
Yeah. So here I've got like a guy, and he's got a big body, big upper body, and he's got tiny legs. But it works because the style is still, it's still fitting, It's not like it doesn't fit. It's not like one part is very realistic, because no, the body is not realistic. I mean, the upper body is still pushed a lot. Um, but yeah, and then maybe the head would be bigger than what is quote like normal, right? I was gonna say quote unquote normal, as if like, oh, I'm being all caring about, well, maybe some people do look like this, but I don't think have to worry about people having this proportion.
Yeah. I think the head would actually work better if it was tiny.
Really?
Yeah, try it.
Okay, I'll make the head tiny. All right. Like that?
Yeah, sort of.
Okay. But yeah, but what does come into all this stuff is anatomy. You still got to know your anatomy. You got to know.
Yeah.
You can't
like
ignore all that stuff.
Yeah. It's like when Sycra said, just play around with shapes and then try to work with that. It's like you can do that, but you need to, if you don't know anything and then you just draw some weird random shape and try to make something out of that, it'll probably won't work out well, because you got to know what you're doing with the shape first. So if you make a random shape to represent the body, then you have to understand the proportions. If the body's too small and the leg's too long, it's just like that's not going to work.
Yeah, and like with this. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, so having some basic knowledge of if it's going to be anatomy and you're going to use shapes to represent anatomy, then having some basic knowledge of anatomy, it really helps. It's sort of like, if you know the rules, or at least you know it enough, then you can break it. But if you don't know the rules at all, then you're just fumbling in the dark.
Yeah, and so at this point, I understand my anatomy. I understand my proportions pretty well. So it's like, okay, fine. But now what I can work on, because I've got it to this point, and let's say I was developing this as a character, is I can work on simplification now. So let's say I have this arm, right, and it goes and it's got all its muscles and everything, but I could actually erase that and just make that a straight line. And then I have this curve, and it's got the latissimus dorsi, it connects to the external obliques. All that, actually I could just do that, make it like that, and it's like, okay, so this is how you get into, maybe I'll just make it a straight line, but this is how you get into cartoony styles where things are more, they're more simplified. And that's why when people say, especially beginners, they say, oh, I want to draw realistic, I don't want to draw cartoony. Cartoony is easy. I don't know about that, because if you really know what you're doing and you're doing cartoony stuff, you actually have to know the thing so well at such a high level that you can simplify it, and then
Simplification. It's like it's you're getting rid of all the unnecessary things, and you're making it more elegant in a way. It's and it's like people say that cartoons are they're easier. It's like, no, they're on a different end of the spectrum. It's like if there's like a bar or something, realism is on the one end, and then simplification or cartoons is on the other. It's like you're still going to have to work towards that bar. It's a different world, and it has its different rules, and it's just because it's being simplified doesn't mean it's easy. Because if you don't know what to simplify, then you might simplify the wrong thing. And it's people underestimate how hard it is to do something with very little. So
yeah. So here I'm just, I'm keeping the straight against curve. So on this side, it's a straight, simple line. So then on this side, I'm making it a bit more complex. On this side, it's a straight line. So this is a bit curved, and you've got that S curve going. And, so it's this kind of stuff that.
yeah. Also, the thing is, even when like really realistic painters, when they do paintings or drawings and they make it really realistic, they're still simplifying the stuff. They're not copying every little detail. At the end of the day, it's still an interpretation. If you want complete realism, you just take a picture and then maybe get a computer to draw out all the details or whatever. But it's like like I said before, it's cartoons and stuff like that. It's a more extreme version of interpreting something. You're interpreting certain lines. You're only allowing certain lines to show, and everything that artists do, even if they have great technique, it's still an interpretation, and everything is still being simplified in a way.
Right.
Okay. Jack Maidley. Hey, Sycra, I'm an animation degree student in England and really love digital drawing/concept art. I'm currently using a Bamboo Wacom. Cheap but works well. Are Wacom upgrades really worth it?
If it works well, then you're good. The reason I upgraded from Graphire, which at the time is like a Bamboo, it was the same thing in a different, way back when, the olden days, but it was the same thing. The reason I upgraded is because I started getting wrist pains. I think I've mentioned this before, just from using it a lot, and so I upgraded to an Intuos, and then I had no problems. Now, if you use a Bamboo Medium, you may not even have that issue at all. So I don't know, but you mentioned that it works fine, so I wouldn't recommend that you do anything. If it's fine, it's fine. It's good.
Oh, he has a follow-up to that. I.e., does it really enhance your drawing ability?
Nothing enhances your drawing ability except for drawing. Yeah. So
just got to draw more.
Yeah.
Let's see. After use. Does the program you use influence what you draw?
I think in some ways it doesn't influence. I don't know. Like, for instance, I use Sketchbook Pro or Photoshop. Like when I paint in Photoshop, I'm more likely to paint as a painter, and then when I open up Sketchbook Pro, I'm more likely to draw it more. So it's, I guess it doesn't, in a way, no, but in a way a little bit. I mean, it's just like if you picked up a stick of charcoal versus a stick or a graphite or a pen, you're gonna use it differently.
Yeah, tools do influence. Like, there are people that say like it doesn't matter.
I don't think it doesn't matter at all, but it's one of those things where it's a very hard to answer thing, because it almost feels like the beginner is asking, can I use a certain tool and get good results? And to that, I want to say no, just draw.
Yeah, it's not that like tools make you better. It's just that each tool comes with its own different rules, and it has like its ups and downs. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it all depends on. I guess this might be cheesy, but it's like if for example, you're just a beginner, and then you have a couple of swords in front of you. Like each of these swords, like one might be longer, one might be sharper, one might be really good for piercing, one might be really good for slashing, and it's like it's all good. They all have their own specific uses and ups and downs, but it's like, but you're a beginner, you don't know how to use swords, so it doesn't matter. But if you do know how to use swords, then it's like, okay, you have a foundation of something. So if you have a foundation of learning how to use swords, then at least you can pick it up and know, let's say, how to swing it, what stance to use, and stuff like that. And then if you prefer one tool over the other, you just start using that tool more often than the others, and then you get used to that. It just it's like they have their ups and downs and their own rules, but at the end of the day, you need to know how to draw or paint and stuff like that, regardless of what tools you use.
Yep. Can you do a
Okay.
video about Sketchbook? I find the whole program to be rather frustrating. I have. Just search for Sketchbook Pro review, and I go over it. Um,
Jessica GVC, how do you recommend going about learning anatomy? A lot of the time I want to start, but there's just so much I get intimidated.
mhm. Totally, I get that. Anatomy is one of those really difficult things that you will be learning for a very long time. So expect that. Expect it not to be a very quick process. But it's tough to say because in the very beginning, what you want to get is not the anatomy, but it's the frame. You need to be able to create the human frame, the mannequin or whatever. So let's say I just the knees are in different places. Let's say I have that human frame, okay? So that's my frame that I'm going to build on. Now you can go into anatomy more and start to learn the major muscles. Like maybe start with pectoralis just because it's big and easy and everyone understands. So it's like the chest muscle. So what you want to learn is how does this chest muscle connect and where does it connect and what bone does it connect to? Now this might be getting a bit too advanced, and I'm sorry, you don't have to do it this way. This is just the way I do it. Is I'll try and figure out where that muscle is and what it connects to. Now I'm using a program called Le Crochet, and it is on the iPad or iPhone. I don't know if it's available for Android, but what I'll do is I'll start by drawing a pose. So let's say I do this, or maybe more, like maybe for me I would actually do a more complicated pose. But I do a pose, and I start to put in as many muscles as I can think of, Maybe I've studied for a bit, and I put in the muscles I know. And then there's going to be places I don't know, but I'm going to guess to where I put them in. I give it my best shot. I put it in. Then I open up the program again, like the Le Crochet, and I look at it, and it's a model. It's a 3D model, and you can spin it around and do all this stuff. So I'll go ahead and I'll do that, and then I'll look where it actually connects, and I'll correct my drawing. So I'm not really using books or anything to draw 100 different drawings from a book. Instead, I'm taking what I already know and I'm correcting it, and then I would draw it again, and I'd apply it to my own poses instead of the poses from a book. Because this way, I'm forced to figure things out myself. Before I was using Le Crochet, what I would do is just go to, right now I have Pokemon instead of Pokemon. But anyway, I would search for pectoralis, for instance, right? Pectoralis major. You click on it, and then on Google Images, you get so many things. And this is important. See where it says origin? That tells you where it connects on the skeleton. And it shows you, see, there's like images like this where it's, okay, this is what the muscle looks like. And I'll really try and learn this and look at this pattern and this pattern, which is the deltoid, and where it connects. And it's overwhelming at first, but focus on one muscle at a time and really try and understand that. So maybe today, all I do is pectoralis. I just really learn where it connects, and maybe before this you have to do your simple skeleton, really understand that, where's the humerus, and then move on, and build and start to understand, how other things function, where other things connect and how. But it's a long-term thing. Another thing you could do is, pick up some books. I know a lot of people find Bridgman very useful. There's a few that are very common that people learn from, but they sort of don't work together. For instance, some people are really big on Loomis. I was a big Loomis guy. Some people prefer Bridgman because he is more blocky and structural. You get more of the form, and you get more of the mechanics of how to do things. Then you have Bern Hogarth, and I personally dislike Bern Hogarth because all the muscles are very bubbly. He simplifies them all kind of like this. They all get very bubbly, and they're flexed on both sides. So the reason I don't like that is because, let's just delete this guy. Let's say I have two arms. One arm is bent like this, and one arm is straight like that. Okay, so in this bent one, of course the bicep is going to flex, but the tricep is going to be relaxed. But then in the straight one, the tricep is going to flex, and the bicep's going to get relaxed. So muscles always work in pairs. They work together. One does one thing, and then you have an opposite that does the opposite thing. So, and this isn't great anatomy, but the point is there, right? That, okay, this is a tricep. These two are the bicep. So you got to learn what is the pulling muscle and what is the pushing muscle, or the opposite. Maybe not pushing. I don't know. Up and down, or every muscle has its counter muscle to do the other thing. All right. Just a few more questions because I'm gonna have to go soon. I think we'll keep this to about an hour long, but
yeah. Let's see.
And I'm sorry I couldn't understand. I couldn't answer all the questions. There's so many of them. Really glad you guys turned out. It's awesome. It's a much better turnout than when I do these videos at some other time. So I guess this is a pretty okay time.
Let's see. More questions. Okay, here's one. Shiny Spartan. Sometimes I see... Oh, God. Updated. Sometimes I see pictures with black silhouettes for foreground elements, and sometimes foregrounds that are visible but with high contrast. Which is correct and why?
Both are correct, because it depends where the light's coming from. So if the light is hitting the midground, then in the foreground, and let's say this is midground, we have a figure in the foreground, and you have stuff in the background. Now if the light's hitting the midground, or the light's coming from this direction, then yeah, you can get a silhouette. You can get a silhouette anywhere. And then if there was light shining on him, he would have the most contrast between light and dark, probably, in the image. But it really depends. It's the same as, like, you've often seen effects where, let's say this is my screen, and this is the foreground element. Let's say it's just a guy, and then there's a person here in the midground and a person in the background. Now, you could make any one of these people in focus or any one of them blurry. So let's say I focused on him. Well, he would be sharp even though he's in the background, and these two would be fuzzy, and that's just because I'm focusing my camera on him on this distance. Whereas you could focus on the midground, then these two become blurry, or focus on the foreground, and then these two become blurry. So it depends more on your camera and things like that, and the light. Happy Plu asked Bob, how much are you drawing a day?
Me?
Yeah.
Every day. You have to draw every day. Because if you stop drawing, then you just get more rusty. The longer you stop drawing, the longer you get rusty, and yeah, like drawing's the most important. It's the foundation of everything. So it's like the better you are at drawing, the better you are at everything else, I suppose. Because everything
Yeah.
else gets built up upon drawing. If you paint a crappy drawing, then it's still going to be crappy. No matter how good your painting is, it's just like, no, your drawing is bad, so it's not going to work. But if you have good drawing and you have a good painting skills, then it's just going to add on top of each other. So yeah, drawing is the most important thing there is.
Hmm. Um.
Oh, here's one.
Okay. Okay.
Pie print. There is a question. This is these. What? This is a question for both Sycra and Jeff. What are the things that constantly inspire you guys, and what were the things you guys used to watch when you were young that probably inspired your art?
You want to go first?
Sure. Well, let's see. The things that inspired me when I was a kid and the things that inspired me now is very different. I started off, I started off like watching Dragon Ball Z, and then just basically copying that stuff. And then I guess you could just say that my root origins for where I started drawing, where my style sort of took off, was from anime or manga. But it was a very stylized version because it was Dragon Ball Z, and it's the typical manga anime style. And from after that, when I really started getting serious into art, Miyazaki was a big inspiration. Just any good artist out there was really good. Craig Mullins, Dave Raposa, Stella FCP. I really love. He's awesome. I really like his style. And yeah, I don't know. Just things that's just quality, I suppose. How about you?
Um, yeah, so growing up, I watched Dragon Ball Z a lot. I never copied. That was my thing. So Jeff had an advantage because he did copy. I thought I could create my own thing, and I was stupid and naive. So I didn't copy, but I really liked the work of when I was growing up, Todd McFarlane, J. Scott Campbell, Joe Madureira. And then I liked Akira Toriyama, the Dragon Ball guy, but I didn't like certain aspects. Like I didn't like how he did the muscles. He does
Yeah.
abs a really weird way.
Yeah.
and I
his
never
shoulders, the arms are really weird.
yeah, he it's like he really didn't understand his anatomy. um,
Or
but
maybe it's just because some of his other art, when he's just doing normal people, like they're okay, like I don't have a problem with that. But it's like when you look at Goku and he's super buff, and it's just like, oh god, that's not human.
yeah,
So maybe it was just Dragon Ball Z. I don't know.
maybe. So yeah, so that one, and then I liked, I don't know, I liked a lot of different things, but I started with comic books, moved into anime. Again, I didn't copy, and then later on I was inspired by painters, Sargent, Repin, Bouguereau, guys like that, so yeah, Rembrandt.
Yeah.
Then I went to my painting phase, and I went to my caricature phase. Now I'm back to my anime phase. Do my own style lately. This isn't it, but
Yeah.
just doing close. Anyway. All right. Well, I think we're gonna have to call that a day.
Yeah.
We don't
Thanks.
have too much more time. Thank you, everybody. Go ahead. Jeff,
Sorry
you
we
can thank
couldn't get to all your comments. There was so much, and we really appreciate everybody watching and commenting.
Yeah, we appreciate you a lot, and we care about you, and we worry about you. You know, you're going down a path we didn't think you would go down, and now your mother and I we're very concerned. And,
Yes, we're all so proud of y'all.
Well, he's proud of you, but I'm concerned. I'm much more concerned, you know. And what?